Hello everyone, good evening. We have enabled passcode on the meeting, guys. So people might be searching for a passcode at the last minute. So only for today, let's give them a couple of more minutes for dial in. Okay, let's get started, guys. I'm sharing my screen, and let me log into Fusion Cloud instance. And all of you would have already got access to this particular Google Drive sheet, guys. So all of you have received onboarding email. So in that onboarding email, there will be three links, guys. Let me just quickly open those screens and share my. Okay, I'll pause the screen share. I'm going to share my screen back in a moment. Just give me one moment, guys. Okay, I'll briefly talk about how to use the onboarding email, guys. So there are, if you guys can open up the onboarding email, first of all, you will see a Zoom link that you can use to attend the training sessions, and that Zoom link is going to remain same throughout the sessions, guys. Zoom link and a passcode will not change. It's going to remain same for the entire 2 month period. Okay, and after the Zoom link, you have three Google Drive links, and one Google Drive link, one of them will give you access to this. One of them will give you access to this particular folder. And whatever training sessions that we're doing for your batch, you know that we do record those training sessions and give you lifetime access to them. So we would be uploading daily session recordings to this particular folder. Uh, I mean, our session gets over at 8 o'clock. I'll be uploading the session recording to this particular folder by 10 p.m. IST. So in a couple of hours after the session is done, I'll be uploading the session recording to this folder, and you should be able to watch it later on whenever required. You would have lifetime access to the session recordings. Please don't try to download it. It won't work. And don't request for download access. We never ever give download access to anyone under any circumstances. I repeat it one more time. No matter what the reason is, you would have lifetime access to the recordings. You have absolutely no reason to download it. So don't request for download access. We never ever give it. And a third link in the onboarding email will bring you into this material folder. And in this particular folder, you will be able to see all the Fusion technical training material. Fusion technical training material. Whatever PPTs or files that I'm going to use, I would be uploading it to this particular folder. And and the third link in that onboarding email will bring you into this Fusion Cloud instances sheet. Remember, guys, we are using the demo instances from Oracle. These are the demo instances that we are using from Oracle. And these instances, they keep changing, guys. The usual refresh policy that Oracle has is every Saturday night, the password of these instances would be reset. And in most cases, only the password would be reset. In most cases, only the password would be reset. But in some cases, even the instance URL would change. But in some cases, even the instance URL would change. So since all of us are sitting across locations, some of you are from US, some of you are from UK. So uh, how do I coordinate with you, and how do you tell you that this is the latest instance working at this point in time and this is a password? To make it easy for everybody to access the latest Fusion Cloud instance details that are working at that point in time, we have created this Google Drive sheet, and we always keep this sheet up to date with the Fusion Cloud instances working at that point in time. All of you have download access to this particular sheet, read only access to this sheet. And all you need to do is in this sheet, we also try to give at least a couple of instances. We try to give at least a couple of instances. We try to give at least a couple of, make at least a couple of instances available. We try to give at least a couple of instances available. We make at least a couple of instances available so that just in case one of them is not working, you have a backup. You would have a backup and you can access the other one. Okay, so that's the intent behind that's the intent behind making at least a couple of instances accessible from here. Okay, and another important point is, yes, if the instance is marked in green, so you see two instances marked in green, you can use any of them. You can use either EVWB or ETAT. Okay, if an instance is marked in green, that means it is working. Sometimes when you come into this sheet, you might see one instance marked in red. Sometimes you might see one instance marked in red like this. What does it mean, guys? It means that that particular instance is not working. Please pay attention, guys, 200% attention here. Whatever I'm explaining now is very, very, very critical. It saves you quite a bit of time. Okay, please pay 200% attention here. So in this particular sheet, whenever you want to access a Fusion Cloud instances, you come straight to this link. Never ever download a local copy of this link. Don't download don't download this sheet. I see some people downloading the sheet, and even after 2 weeks, they access an old sheet and they say password is not working. Please don't download this sheet. Always access this sheet real time by using that link that I've given in an onboarding email. Bookmark that link and access that link every time. Okay. And the second thing that you need is, if and second important point is, if something is marked in red, please don't use it. If something is marked in red, please don't use it. Why did we mark it in red? We marked it in red because we know very well that it is not working. I see at least 2 or 3 students in every batch. They say that Prasad, the second one is working, first one is not working. Dear, we know that very well. That is why we have marked it in red. So when an instance is marked in red, that means it doesn't work. You don't try it. Even if you try it, don't tell us that it is not working. We know that it is not working. Okay, point number one. Point number two, if you see an instance marked in green, that means that instance is working. Go ahead and click on that particular instance link. And that would take you to a login page. And depending on the use case that you want to practice, whether you want to practice a finance, HCM, or SCM use case, depending on what use case you want to practice, you would log in as that particular user. And remember, guys, for finance and SCM, you only have one implementation user. But for HCM, you have users from 1 to 20. Okay. So depending on the use case you want to try, you can log in as either finance or SCM or HCM implementation user. Okay. But what is the password for all these users, guys? The password that we have given here is the password that works for all the implementation users. All the implementation users doesn't matter. It's the same password that works. Okay. Now, how do you log in? You click on sign in button. You see that there is an instance marked in green. You see that there's an instance marked in green. And let's say you want to practice a finance use case and you would log in as FinIMPL here. And you copy the password directly from here. Remember, guys, I've given a view only access to the sheet, but still you will be able to copy the password. I repeat it one more time. You guys have read-only access to the sheet, but you will still be able to copy the password. Just double click on the cell, select the entire context and the entire text. And to confirm whether it is copied or not, you go to Notepad, paste it in the Notepad first, see if there is no additional space, etc. See if the password is copied correctly. Only then go into a sign-in page and paste it there, and you click on sign in. This is a happy path, and this is how it should be working. If you see an instance marked in green, ideally when you access a URL, enter a username, enter a password, you should be able to get in. Okay, so that's a second point. And point number 3, sometimes what would happen, guys? Sometimes you might see an instance marked in green, but when you try to log into the instance as a specific user, maybe as a finance or SCM or HCM user, with a password that is given in a sheet, you might get authentication error. So how do you handle that, guys? You might get authentication error. How do you handle that? So, and why do you get authentication error? See, when you log into an application as a specific user, let me go to Security Console. And how do you access Security Console, guys? If you have patience, click on this link, click on this arrow mark 4 times, go to Tools and click on Security Console. But I can also search for it directly from here, and I go to Security Console. And when anyone tries to log in, when anyone tries to log into a Fusion Cloud instance, when anybody tries to log in, see, I am trying to log into this instance here as a finance implementation user, and this is a right password. This is a right password, and this would work. This is the right password, and that would work. But instead of that password, I would enter any other random password. I would copy any random password that you like. Sometimes what happens, these demo instances are used not only by you and me, it is used by thousands of other users in a public domain. Okay, there are a lot of Oracle partners, training firms who use these demo instances for both the client demos as well as training purposes. So meaning this is not used only by you and our batch, it is used by plenty of others as well. So we know the right password. We know the right password for this instance, for this user, but some of them might not know it. And what they do is they try to log in with any password that they have. They try to log in with any password, any random password that they have. And when you try to log into an instance as a specific user with a wrong password more than 5 times, what do you think is going to happen, guys? How many times you try more than 5 times. You try more than 5 times. I tried 3 times. And I'll also, before I try for the other 2 times, I go ahead and search for FinIMPL here. You see this user is not in locked state. It is not locked yet. But if I try to log in 2 more times, I'm doing it for the 4th time now. I'm doing it for the 5th time. What do you think would happen now? So if you try to log into an application as a specific user with a wrong password for more than 5 times, what would happen, guys? Let's see what happens. The user is locked, which means, let's say somebody has tried to do this, not you and me, not from our institute or not from our group, but somebody else tried to log in with a wrong password for that specific user more than 5 times. It gets locked. And what does user lock means? That means after the user is logged, even if we try to log in, let's say Sundar tries to log in, he knows the right password and he would enter the username and he would enter the password and he would sign in. But still it doesn't work. Okay, but still it doesn't work. Is password not correct? Password is correct, but why is Sundar not able to log in here, guys? Please respond. Why is he not able to log in? Because the user is locked, right?
Yeah.
So when you try to practice the same use case, when you try to log into a Fusion Cloud instance, never ever try the instances marked in red. Try the ones that are marked in green. And when you try out the instance that is marked in green, even after you take care that you enter the right password, you still get authentication failed error. Two things you can do. You can send a screenshot of this URL, username and password, send it to Prasad and ask him to check. But Prasad might be in some meeting or the other and he might take a couple of hours to respond. But what would happen? You would unnecessarily waste your time. You might probably sit down with a fresh mind to practice and you run into this issue and you cannot proceed further because unless you log into an instance, you cannot practice it. But what is it that you can do to help yourself here? To help yourself and to save quite a bit of time, what is it that you can do? You see FinIMPL, somebody has logged. But there are other users that I can use, right? So what Sundar should be doing? He sees that there are three other users that he can use. He can either use KC Brown or HCM implementation user or SCM implementation user. And in HCM, you have 20 users again. So to validate whether the problem is with a password or whether the user is logged, how can Sundar validate it? Instead of FinIMPL, what he should do? He should use another HCM implementation user. He can use any HCM implementation user from 11 to 20, and he has to copy that password and he enters it here and he's able to get in. And what does it mean? Okay, looks like it didn't work. Let me go ahead and write it here. And I go ahead and enter it here, sign in. And the moment you sign in, what is it that you see? The moment Sundar is able to sign in, what is a confirmation? What is this confirming to Sundar? Boss, password is correct. Password is correct. It's just that somebody logged FinIMPL user. But let's say Sundar wants to practice a finance use case. Maybe he wants to build a AR invoice print report. He cannot practice a finance use case with HCM user. So what is it that Sundar can do? What he should be doing, guys? Come on, you know the answer.
We add the role to that user.
That is also another approach that you can take. But
Unlock the user.
Unlock the user. Yeah. So that adding the roles and data access is also one thing, but you can probably try to practice security ones. But the much easier option is when Oracle has already taken care of all the data access, why do you want to waste energy on that again? So you just go into security console and just unlock the user. Okay, so I go into users. I go ahead and search for FinIMPL. So that's what Sundar is going to do. He would search for that particular user, and what does he do? He unlocks it. So without having to depend on Prasad, wait for a couple of hours to unlock the user, because quite a few of you sit in US, and if you try to log in at 1 o'clock your time, it would be dead in the night. You cannot expect Prasad to get up and unlock the password for you. So these are the few tricks that would help you. Just search for that user. You see that it is in locked state, and I clicked on this and I clicked on unlock account. And when I click on unlock, it is unlocked now. What does it mean? It means that we should be able to get into the instance as a finance implementation user now.
Got it.
Okay. Everybody clear with the instructions, guys, on how to use the onboarding email and how to log into the instances, how to unlock the user? What are the things that you need to check before you reach Prasad? Yes or no, please?
Yes.
Yes, Prasad.
Perfect. Okay. Now let's move on and pick up on. I'll just quickly show you that I should be able to sign in as FinIMPL now. And once we quickly validate that, we can go ahead and resume from where we have left off. So I go ahead. Okay, that's okay. I'm already logged in as FinIMPL here. I'm already logged in as FinIMPL. And where did we stop yesterday, guys? Yesterday we created a user, and yeah, I'll go back into Security Console again. And we created a user yesterday. We created a user yesterday, and we discussed the role-based access control. Okay, did we create it in this instance? I think we probably have done it in a different instance. I think we have done it in, yeah, this is also working by the way. This is also working by the way. I believe in this instance, we have created that user, fusion.user1. Okay. And what did we do? We created a user here, go into Security Console, and you search for fusion.user1, right? And after we created a user, after we created a user, we discussed how to create a user, how to assign roles, and we also discussed two different ways to assign a data access to the users as well. What are two different ways to assign a data access to the user? You can go into manage data access task and grant access. Otherwise, you can also assign a data role as well. Otherwise, you can also assign a data role like this to the user. And when you assign a data role to the like this to the user, that would still give user access to the data. Remember, guys, in case of financials or in case of HCM, if you want to grant data access to the users, you would go ahead and select the data roles. You would go ahead and search for the data roles, and you would assign such data roles to the users so that they get access to it. Please hold on with your question, Anand. I'll take it at the end. Yeah. So one way to assign data access, or in case of finance and HCM, you would be able to see the data roles like this, and you can assign data roles to the user so that they get access to the data. But in case of HCM, in case of human capital management, it works in a different fashion, guys. In case of human capital management, it works in a different fashion. Let me show you how it works in HCM. So I'm in ET80 instance, and let me go ahead and quickly create another user, and I'm going to create it as Fusion HCM, and I would say user1, and I'm going to enter the password as welcome123. And if you go ahead and assign employee role, I'm going to assign employee role to the user here. I'm not going to repeat the same story that I did yesterday because you already know what I'm doing here. So I've created a user, assigned employee role, save and close. And let me log into this instance as that Fusion, HCM.user1. Fusion HCM.user1. And I'm going to enter it as welcome123. Sign in. And after you sign in, what is it that you get to see? Obviously, since you just assigned employee role, what are the screens that they get access to? A bare minimum screens that every employee should see. But assume that this particular user is a HCM user, not a general accountant or a accounts payable supervisor. Assume that he is basically a assume that he is a HR specialist. Assume that he is a HR specialist on the client side. So what should a HR specialist basically do? HR, so assume that this user joined your client as a HR specialist, and what he should ideally be doing, he should be hiring people, he should be transferring employees, he should be terminating them, he should be transferring them. So those are the activities that this guy should perform. So to give him access to all the HR related work areas, and since he is a HR specialist, since he is hired as a human resource specialist, how do I make him a HR specialist in Fusion Cloud application? You just go ahead and search for that appropriate role. You just go ahead and search for that particular appropriate role and you assign him. Okay, so you search for that particular specific role, human resource specialist, and you go ahead and add that role, add that job role, and you go ahead and click on save and close. And once you do this, what would happen now, guys? You see that this particular user is made a HR specialist. So it tries to sign out, sign in back again. I'm going to sign in back again. And this time I should be able to see those additional screens. So it looks like the sync is not done yet. Sync is not done yet. Let's go ahead and run that sync job also. Because it's usually taking a bit of time to sync the changes that we are doing. So I go into setup and maintenance. And that would take you to FSM screen. And we'll be talking more about FSM in a couple of sessions. You can go into any of the offering, and the first task that you see is to run the sync job. Go ahead and run the sync job. Let me try to sign out and sign in again. Now, when I sign out and sign in again, I'm going to go back into the application again as HCM user or HR specialist. And this time I should be able to see the, as a HR specialist, since a HR specialist role is assigned to the user, this user is able to access, he has got access to additional screens or additional groups. And if you look at my client group, and this is a screen, or this is a group where you have all the HR related work areas. So if you look at the quick actions, he's able to see options to terminate an employee, hire a new person, manage the employees, add an assignment, and all that. So the typical stuff that our HR specialist should do, all the tasks, he has got access to it now. But let's say if this HR specialist tries to go ahead and hire an employee, let's assume that he needs to hire maybe 4 or 5 people, and maybe he also have to transfer a couple of them from one location to another location, or maybe move them from one department to another department. So he needs to access these screens to do that. So would he be able to do it, guys? What do we know from yesterday's session? Like assigning a job role to the user, what does it give access to, guys? It only gives access to the screens, right? And yes, when we assign HR specialist role to the user, he's able to see HR related work areas. But when he tries to hire an employee, you see, you should definitely select a legal employer here. And legal employer, this is where you select the company, which specific company is hiring the person. Okay. So let's say Emerson is using this product, a HR specialist would be selecting the Emerson legal employer, or whatever company that is, that particular company, legal employer, they will be selecting here. But is user one able to see any companies here, guys, that he can hire employees into? Yes or no, please? We
No.
don't see any employees. So he comes back to us and say, hey, Prasad, what's going on? Initially, you didn't give me access to the screens. And when I complained, you assigned a HR specialist job role. I'm able to see the work areas now. But when I try to hire an employee, I'm not able to do it. So what I would do, I would let Prasad know that he has to fix this issue, because he's a security administrator. And while he fixes issue, HR specialist might try to do another task. So let's say he has to transfer Curtis from a department to another department. So he goes in here and searches for employee that starts with name as Curtis. Does he find any employee here? He doesn't see the employees as well. Okay, so it all boils down to the same problem. Like assigning a job role gives user access to the screens, but not the data. But how do we grant data access to the HCM user is different from the way you grant access is different from the way you grant access to the finance user. In finance user, you can assign a data role like this, which are auto-generated, or you can go to manage data access task and you can do that. But in case of HCM, it works in a different fashion. How does it work, guys? In HCM, you need to go ahead and create something called as a data role. In HCM, what is it that you have to do? Let me go ahead and open the security notes. In HCM, in HCM, what you should be doing is in HCM, you should be seeing in HCM, you would be creating a security profile, and you would be creating a security profile. Yeah. In HCM, you have to go into this particular task. You need to go to Functional Setup Manager and search for this particular task called Manage Data Role and Security Profiles. And you need to create an explicit data role by going into this particular task. So you go to that task in FSM. So I'm in Functional Setup Manager here. Go into the tasks ribbon, go to Global Search, and you search for that particular task here. And when you search for this particular task, what do you see? You go into Manage Data Role and Security Profile. And here you should be, and from here you should be able to create a data role. And you give it a name. So you say UG HCM, and I'm going to call it as UG HCM data role. And I'm going to create it as UG HCM data role. Okay. Now, when I create this UG HCM data role here, you need to, when you create a data role, you need to select a job role. And what is a job role to which we want to grant data access? It is a human resource specialist job role, right? So you search for that particular job role here and tap out. And when you search for that particular job role, how many roles do we see here, guys? We see 3 roles for that name. And I also mentioned why you are seeing multiple roles, right? So copy is okay, you can ignore it. So this is just an exact duplicate or copy of this role. But why are you seeing 2 roles for the same job name? You will be able to see a pop-up which explains that. So what are the two roles you see? So when I search for human resource specialist, I see 2 roles with the same name, but with a different role code. One of them has Aura underscore and one of them doesn't have it. What is the role that we should be using, guys? What is the right role that we should be using?
Aura underscore.
Aura underscore. Okay. Now, why do we have 2 roles? In 2 minutes, I'll show you a pop-up. I select Aura underscore and I go to the next screen. And when I go to the next screen, immediately you see a pop-up. And this paragraph basically explains why you are seeing 2 roles with the same name but a different role code. What do you see here, guys? It says, hey Prasad, it's a warning. Another job role with the same name exists and is included in the data roles. So what is it that I selected here? Human resource specialist. So when I select this role, it is saying, Prasad, there is another job role with the same name exists in data roles. Verify that you selected a correct one. And what is a correct one? Aura underscore is a correct one. And it says you may see 2 job roles with the same name but different role code. Okay. You see 2 job roles with the same name, one without Aura underscore and one with Aura underscore in the role code. Name is same, code is different. And what is the reason why we are seeing them? It is likely that one role was upgraded from enterprise job role and other was upgraded from application role is release 11. What is the release that we are using, guys, at the moment? Fusion Cloud release. Which one are we using?
13.
Release
13.
So release 13 would have been upgraded from the previous release, right? Right. So in release 11, there is an enterprise job role with this name, and there is also an application job role with the same name. So when Oracle upgraded release 11 to 12 and 12 to 13, what has happened, guys? These two roles, both the enterprise job role and an application job role, got upgraded to Fusion Cloud to release 13. And that is why you are seeing those duplicate roles. Okay. So, and it also tells you some more story. The role that was previously the enterprise job role is the parent of application job role. But that's okay. You don't have to really worry too much about why it has happened. So Oracle is trying to give you a summary like why it has happened, and it is also trying to uh, give a statement saying that such inconsistencies are difficult to resolve, which is ridiculous, but we have to live with it. Okay, so Oracle could not resolve that issue, and that is why you might see two roles. And you should basic thumb rule is you should pick up or underscore role. And if somebody asks in interview, why do you see two roles? You say, boss, in release 11, there are two roles with the same name, enterprise job and application role. And when it is upgraded, both the roles got upgraded to cloud. And now you go into the next screen. And within a data role, you would be adding a security profiles. Within the data role, you would be adding a security profiles, guys. And the security profiles that you add to the data role, and these profiles are going to control what a user gets to see. So I'm in security criteria now, and you see that there are different securities here. You have organization, position, country, LDG, person, etc. So meaning which organization should be visible to the HR specialist, what positions he should be able to see, what countries, what LDG, what employees would be controlled by the security profiles. And by default, there is one security profile given by Oracle called UAll. For each of these security profiles, you have a default security profile given by Oracle called UAll. Meaning, for organizations, you have UAll organizations. For positions, you have UAll positions. For countries, you have UAll countries. So I'm creating a data role, and for the security roles, we will be creating a custom security profile in 10 minutes from now. But before I create a custom security profile, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to assign the seeded security profiles given by Oracle called ViewAll. And what is the common sense that we get, guys? So when you assign ViewAll organizations, what would user get access to? He
All
would get
countries.
he would be able to see all the countries, all positions, all organizations. Common sense, right? So let's go ahead and see if that works or not. Okay, let's go ahead and see if that works or not. And after you add all these view all roles, after you add all these view all security profiles, now when I click on the next screen, guys, if I click on the next screen, you see that there are almost 9 security profiles, right? You see that there are almost 9 security profiles or even more as well. So we see 5 security profiles here and you see 5 or 6 here. So you see almost 11 security profiles. And all those security profiles would be available here. And the moment I click on next, you notice that this tab expands and you will be able to see all these 9 security profiles there. Let me click on next, and what do you see? You see that the train page has expanded and all the 11 security profiles you are able to see here. You can go through these tabs one by one and you can make the changes if you want. But we don't have time and patience to go into each one of these security profiles and make changes in it. So I would just click on the back button, and this text tells you what profiles are we talking about. I click on back, and I'll be able to see the profiles that I've selected the security criteria. I don't want to go to security profiles and see what each of these security profile definition is. I don't want to do that because I've attached a default one which says view all. So instead of going into next, what do? I click on review. And when I click on review, what would happen, guys? It would just take me from security criteria directly to review, skipping the profiles part. Yes, I already selected all the profiles. I'm happy with them. I just click on review, and in the review, you will be able to see all the options that you have selected. Basically, view all for every profile. You hit the submit button. And the moment I hit the submit button, what do you notice, guys? A data role should have been created. Let me
So
just
the
copy it.
security profiles will determine the screens, sir?
Not the screens, what data they get to see within the
Only data.
screens.
Okay, okay.
Only data. Screens part we'll see tomorrow. I don't think time will be sufficient to see
Okay.
what screens they get access to. I remember that you asked it yesterday as well, but we'll
Yeah.
cover it in detail tomorrow.
Okay.
This is like, remember this user was able to see the screens. He was able to hire an employee, go to that page, but he's not seeing a legal employer there. He's going into person management screen, but he's not seeing employees there. But now that I've created this data role, giving him access to all legal employers, because we said view all organizations. And for persons also, what did we say? View all persons. So when he goes into, okay, let me do that first, and then I'll explain it. So now that we have the data role created with view all access to everything that you have in HCM, we just need to go ahead and add that data role. Now, what do you think would happen now? This user should be able to see he should be able to see the data within the screens now. Okay, let me go ahead and also run a sync job. You don't have to do it, but just for us to see the results faster.
Data roles only for HCM we need to do, not for Fin and for SCM.
For Fin and SCM, we already have seeded data roles generated by Oracle. Yeah,
okay.
And we would just be assigning them.
Any specific reason, Prasad, for why it left for HCM to create the data roles?
Not only this one, guys. Not only this one. Everything is different between finance and SCM and HCM. I remember later on also when we start getting into the technical topics, you realize that finance and SCM works in a specific fashion, whereas HCM works in a completely different fashion because the functionality, the nature of the product itself is completely different. Okay, things work in a completely different fashion in HCM. Not only this one, there are a lot of other things that would work in a different fashion in HCM. Later on, we'll cover them.
Okay, but one note, Prasad, here we are using, while creating the data role in HCM, we are using the standard role that human resource
Standard
specialist.
data role, correct.
Right. I mean, likewise, we don't have that in the real time. We don't have the standard data roles available, right?
No,
that,
it's not available. Yeah. It still did not come. Usually this part takes a bit of time. Usually that part takes a bit of time. Hire an employee and seeing the legal employers within that. But let me go ahead and check if we have got the employees showing up in the person management screen meanwhile.
So yesterday when we were creating not creating, so assigning the data role to the in finance, right? So we did not have the security options over there. So, but in HCM, we see
have
that
the security profiles, yes.
Yeah.
Because this is a different screen altogether. So when, okay, I think where you are confused is manage data role manage data role. The task that we used to create a data role for HCM, right? This is a completely different task when compared to what we used yesterday, to grant data access. Yesterday we went to one screen, right? That is manage data access for users, and that screen, that task is completely different from this. Okay, so yeah. Let me go ahead and sign out and sign in again. So usually it takes a couple of minutes. Okay, what do you see now? This user is able to see all the legal entities now. He's able to see all the organizations, so he can hire employees into any organization that he wants. But tell me one thing, as usually, does HR teams work per country or do they work across countries? Of course, you might have a global talent acquisition teams in some big enterprises, but usually a HR specialist would be responsible for hiring employees into a specific legal entity. So if you are a HR based out of US, you would probably be hiring employees into your US1 or US2 legal entity. And if you're probably working based out of London, and if you're hired by UK firm, then you would probably be hiring employees into that UK firm. So yes, giving HR access to all the legal employers is the last thing that you want to do. But yes, if you assign view all roles, view all security profiles, that is what is going to happen. So this user is able to hire employee into any legal employer now, into any legal entity. And at the same time, when he comes in and searches for employees here, he would also be able to see all the employees from all the legal entities. So you see, when I search for Curtis, I'm able to see employees from US, and I'm also see employees from New Zealand as well, which again should be restricted. So this HR specialist is based out of US, and he should only be able to hire employees into US1, US2 legal entity, and he should only see the US employees, right? How do we restrict it? Any guess? Why is he seeing everything, first of all? Why is he seeing everything, guys? Because we assign view all security
View all
View
profiles.
all security.
Now, how do I restrict it? To restrict it, what I would do, I would just go ahead and create custom organization and person security profiles. And when I create custom organization security profile, I would mention what legal entities that user should be able to see. And when I create a person security profile, I would mention which employees from which legal entities should he be able to see. So let's see how to do that. And how do we do that, guys? To create a security profiles, you go ahead and choose a workforce deployment offering here. And you go into users and security. And by default, you will see required task size, change it to all tasks, and you would be able to see all the security profiles now. You see that we have organization security profile, country. Remember, there were 11 security profiles, right? We see all those 11 profiles here. So I go into organization and I quickly create an org security profile. I'm going to call it as UG US1 org security profile. Create a new one. And when you create a security profile, again, you can grant access using different options. You can grant access by an organization hierarchy or by tree. So but this is a concept in Fusion HCM Cloud, guys, specific to HCM. You can have a hierarchy of organizations created as trees, and you can grant access to organizations based on hierarchy or based on classification, meaning I can grant access of all the legal entities or all the business units or all the departments. So based on organization type, also I can give access, or I can also say by organization, and I can pick and choose what organizations I want to grant access to. So let's say this user should see only US1 and US2 legal entity. What do I do, guys, in that case? I search for US1 legal entity. And when you search for US1 legal entity, it is asking me to enter a classification name, guys. It is a mandatory field, but assume that you don't know what you have to enter here. But you cannot hit the search button because it's mandatory field. In such case, what you can do, you can click on advanced, and I can change this to is not blank. Okay, I can change it to is not blank, and I click on search for it. So that's like saying a classification name not null. I don't know what is the value that I have to put in there. So you see, when I search for US1 legal entity, these are the different types of organizations that we have. And again, we don't have to really worry about it. It's a HCM functional consultant headache that he needs to worry about all of this. But in our case, we need to grant him access to US1 legal entity, legal employer. So I'm going to choose that specific organization here. And let's say we also want to grant him access to US2 legal entity as well. What is it that I would do? I would go ahead and choose that specific legal entity as well.
So it's not blank, it's like percent, right? Pretty much.
Yeah, it's like percentage, yes. Yeah. But you cannot put a percent, it doesn't work, but you have to go into advanced and say not null. I've selected a couple of legal employers here, and I've created an org security profile. And what I would do was I would go ahead and create a person security profile as well. This is going to restrict what organizations they get to see in the hire an employee page. But when you go into person management screen, he's seeing all the persons, right? All the people from New Zealand, US as well. I don't want him to see employees from New Zealand. I want him to see only employees from US1 or US2 legal entity. How do I do it? I create a person security profile. And when you create a person security profile, again, you can grant access to a persons from a specific department, from a specific BU, from a specific legal employer, or by position, or by management hierarchy. Again, you have different types here. Again, you can also do it by types. Person type also, maybe you can grant access of only employees, of the actual employees, not the contractors or non-paid workers. So there are different ways in which you can grant access. In this case, what I would do was I would say secure by legal employer. And what I would do was I would select the org security profile that I've created here. I would select the org security profile I've created. So what is the org security profile that we have created, guys? You search for UG here. I'm going to choose this. So what is it that I'm trying to do here? I'm trying to, when I create a person security profile, I'm using my org security profile here. So this is like telling HCM Cloud that show only the employees from US1 and US2 legal entity that I've selected in this security profile. Show only employees from those two legal entities. That's a message that we're communicating to HCM Cloud. So you go ahead and click on Save and Close. Now what would happen now? We have two security profiles now. What's the next step that we have to do, guys?
We have to go change the view all organizations to security profile.
And view all person security profile to these two. And we need to do a quick test. And how do I go to security, the data role and security profiles? I can also do it directly from here. It's okay, I can go in here. Global search, manage data role.
Just
And I would search.
or functional. Just setting up the roles, custom roles and custom security profiles.
It would be done by functional consultant.
Okay.
Go ahead and edit it. And what do I need to change? Two security profiles I need to change. Country and the person security profile. review, and sub. And what should happen now? When this user goes back into those HR screens, he should see only US1 and US2 when in hire an employee page. And when he goes to employees page, person management's page, he should only see employees from US1 and US2 legal entity, not from other legal entities. And tomorrow we talk about role customization, guys. Any questions from anyone with what we have covered today?
Yeah. I have one question.
Yes.
Job role and data role. You picked, you said this is the job role. How do we know what type of role it is? Just by
the name. You
Then
look at
at the end?
you look at the role code. Yeah, at the end you will be able to see whether it is underscore job or underscore duty or underscore data role. Data role. So this is, since that is something that we name. You don't have anything underscore data at the end, but usually job roles would have underscore job, abstract would have underscore abstract, and so on.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions from anyone? Now, what does this guy is able to see, guys? He's able to see only two legal entities. So this is how you grant the data access in HCM. It works in a slightly different fashion. Yes, until the job roles, assigning a job roles is fine. The user gets to see the screens when you assign a job role, but how do you grant data access? It's slightly different. You create data roles and in the data roles, you assign security profiles. By default, you can try out view all, which would grant access to everything. Ideally, that should not be the case. Then you create custom profiles restricted to specific companies or specific legal entities and specific employees you want to show. And if I go into person management also now, and if I search for Curtis, how many employees should I see?
Only two.
Only two. Where is the third one? Where is the first one gone? Because we have restricted it, so the first one is not visible anymore.
So if you have an organization, a custom profile you created, but you don't create the person, that means it will show for all the people in that.
All the people, that's correct, yes.
And all the others, go ahead.
All the others will still show everything.
Correct. And all the 11 security profiles that you showed, you just showed us two samples. You can do the same for payroll and all that stuff, correct?
For everything. And yes. Okay. Thanks everyone. See you tomorrow, same time.